How y'all doing today? Hope you're doing well. Hey, another one of my little ideas I was thinking was, I do a lot of stuff. I still make my living in IT, just not as much as I'd like to. And I thought I might share some of the tools I use to do that. And they're either low or no cost kind of tools, but I want to show you two of them that I primarily use. One I don't use as much as I used to, and the other one I use quite a bit. And they're remote access utilities because the majority of the time that I bill and the way I get paid is by doing things from a remote location instead of going down to an office. Whether gas is $2 a gallon or $5 a gallon, it's still really pricey to jump in a vehicle and go, 30 to 50 miles somewhere to go fix something when you can just, basically boot up your PC and get a remote connection. So to that end, I wanted to show you two of the tools I use. One of them, like I say, I favor more than the other, mostly because of the way their licensing goes. But for the most part, they're both free. And you don't just have to use them for IT. You could use them for things like helping your folks or your friends or something like that, which is really what the license is geared toward. But there's one you could actually use for business too, but you just got to keep it on the down low, and as far as, don't abuse it. And they have mechanisms in play to do that. The other one I don't use as much because, well, their licensing is kind of ridiculous and overpriced, and I'll show you that. But regardless, when I need to go in remotely and do something with a PC, and I have the opportunity to not have to go to the site, I'll probably these days use something like Remote Utilities or Teamviewer. Now, Teamviewer was a lot more popular before they changed their licensing model, and in my view, got a little greedy. But they're both remote access utilities here, and I'll show you what they're all about here. First, let's take a look at their sites and see where they are. First one is Remote Utilities. Remote Utilities is a lot like Teamviewer, and they offer like remote administration and all kinds of good stuff, and they're more affordable. They offer Active Directory integration, that kind of thing. So, they've got some good features. They're not quite as robust as Teamviewer as far as features. In fact, Teamviewer now, like 11, they're talking about better performance and a better toolbar, but here's the big thing, Android device control. That's something Remote Utilities doesn't do yet. But the thing about Teamviewer is, you take a look at the licensing here. $729, and that's a sale. Normally it's $900 for one user, one session. Now you can have limited endpoints, but it's $700. That's a little pricey for just remote access, for something that's glorified remote desktop or remote assistance, if you know what I mean. Now you go over here to Remote Utilities, and they'll give you a license for up to 10 PCs free, whereas Teamviewer only gives you one device, one user. Kind of hard to argue with that. And if you actually want to buy it, they're a little more reasonable. And probably the way to do it is, see, if you do per operator, you say one operator, right? You're going to have about $500, which is still about $300 cheaper than Teamviewer for what 90% of is the same thing you're going to do with this as you do with Teamviewer. It's even cheaper if you do per PC. If you know how many PCs you're going to be connecting to, say 10, $28 a PC. You see, so you can go either way. You've got that option. So it's a little better deal, but it's also a little less robust. And now that I've kind of shown you the overview and you know what they're doing, let me actually show you a session in each of them. So we're going to go ahead, and we're going to go into Remote Utilities, and I'll show you. And there's stuff blurred out here because I don't need you guys trying to hack into my clients. But you see, it's a pretty simple interface. You can do view only, or you can do a file transfer. You get all the same stuff. Power control, I wouldn't play with power control, but you have it. You could do RDPs from here if you don't want to use their services. These both work off of an interim server. So when you set up a client that you want to control remotely, that client is registered with a server somewhere else, and then you come in with your viewer, with your remote utilities viewer, put the number in with the client, and you connect to that client. Like, for example, I'm going to connect to this client. And I've got different levels of authentication I can use and that kind of thing. I'll put in my super secret password here. And we're going to connect after a little while. Now this is going out, and then it's setting up the connection, so it's kind of a pass-through. And here you see I'm going to a remote machine, and I can basically do whatever I want to do here. I've got all the same functionality. I can send a control alt delete. I can send custom keys. I can change the view. I can do full screen view. I could do a stretch view, which is what this is. Normal view is pretty much the same as full screen view, but I do stretch because it blows things up. So I mean, it's basically the same thing as Teamviewer. I can start a session recording if I want. So you can basically save it to a file and do whatever. Or I can capture the sound coming through. I can do anything I want here. There's even a easy little chat function here. I can just say hello, hello, hello over here if I wanted to. So, there's that. When I'm done, I just close the box. Done. You're done. It's really that simple. And this uses a free license. It doesn't matter if it's business or personal. You got up to 10 free licenses you could use, business or personal. Don't go buy it. Don't abuse it. And the only way they know is, because you're basically connecting to their interim server. You also have the option of this one to set up your own server, which is something I haven't really seen in Teamviewer. So you can get remote utilities completely out of the way, the company completely out of the way, and just set up your own. I like to use theirs, though, because I've never just really had the facilities or the steady enough connection anywhere to trust a 24/7 server running my own of this. But you can if you want. It could be a good business option. Remember, these are things that are like alternatives to log me in or remote assistance, that kind of thing. This is the one I use the most. See, I have an Active Directory too. Here's one thing. I really don't like using Active Directory connections with these kind of utilities unless it's over, the local LAN, if it's in a sandbox. I don't want to even try to do that stuff over the internet, even with a VPN. For one thing, it's going to be slow. And for another thing, it's just why? Why bother when all you really want to see is a desktop? So you have that. So that was Remote Viewer. Now I'll just shut that down. Now let's go take a look at Teamviewer. Now this is Teamviewer 11 as of May 31st, 2016. This is the latest version. And you see you've got the same thing, and it works on the same premise. You've got IDs over here, you've got a password. There's some decent security here, but it basically runs the same way. Here I can try to connect to that same server because I've got both clients running. See, and there you go. You've got the server. You've got the same thing. You can change the view. You can do a scaled view. You can change the hide wallpaper. It's got the same functionality. You can do file transfers, which basically will set up a whole other interface. So if you kind of easier than FTP, but it really is kind of like an FTP session. But the problem with Teamviewer is the licensing. Yeah, it's very robust. It's a very mature product, but the whole reason remote utilities exist is because Teamviewer started getting greedy. The other thing is that, and remote utilities can do it too, but sometimes Teamviewer locks up, sometimes the client goes offline, whatever, and then you're really screwed. In fact, I kind of use Teamviewer now as a backup to remote utilities now. But you see, you get and this is the free, so you get prompted. The only thing you get is you get prompted for the license crap and all that. You can set up your computers, your clients. You have control over them. You log in. You log in under one ID, and that ID shows you all the devices you have access to. So, you know, I mean, you've got that stuff going on, but really there's not a lot of difference. But this is what I use. The biggest things to remember are you have to have a good connection. You have to, and that periodically these things are going to go down. And they're very sensitive to what the host internet connection is. I mean, like anything remote. So you got to keep that in mind. Okay, but the big difference between these two, oh yeah, and the other thing is Teamviewer likes to run a service, which I don't like, but I was looking for it there. The thing I like about remote utilities over Teamviewer is the price. I like the price. It all comes down to price. And when I've got two products basically doing the same thing, and if I end up having to buy a license, the thing that I like better is a lot cheaper. So, but there you go. I mean, it's just a real quick synopsis. It's remote utilities and Teamviewer. So, and that's it. Let me know in the comments though if you want me to like do some more like in-depth stuff with this, and maybe a setup video or something like that. You know, it's pretty easy. I mean, if you've done anything with like LogMeIn or anything like that before, it's actually, these are both actually easier than that. And you could even try it out on a couple computers in your house to see how it works if you wanted to just test that way. Anyway, that's all for now. Thanks for watching, and you have yourselves a great day. I'm out.